Hey kids, it's Mr. Flea here, hope you're well, and welcome back to the channel for Bike News, the monthly look back at what's been going on in the world of motorcycles here in the UK, this time for the month of September 2024. So welcome back to the channel folks, and another bike news, and I cannot believe that September is already out of the way. What a absolutely rubbish biking season we've had here in the UK. If you're watching elsewhere, maybe you've had it better, but here in Blighty the weather has been appalling, and I just haven't ridden enough. It's been grim, and I can't believe we're already into October. Anyway, enough whinging. Got quite a lot of news to get through. It's getting to that time of year where a lot's going on in the world of motorcycling, so without further ado, let's crack on with it. Right, first story here, New World Order. Now this is a bit about Chinese motorcycles. Now I've reviewed the old Chinese motorcycle on the channel and I always get a load of flack when I do. People talk about human rights and putting your money into China and all that sort of thing. But should we be ignoring Chinese bikes? Let's read what it says here and then I'll tell you my thoughts on this. It wasn't that long ago that Chinese motorcycles in the UK market were synonymous with cheaply made, lesser alternatives to the machines produced by mainstream manufacturers. Fast forward to 2024 and the 5,699 parallel twin CFMoto 450MT has just taken victory in our A2 bike test, seeing off the Royal Enfield Himalayan, the Honda CRF 300 Rally and the KTM 390 Adventure. A Snap MCN poll online asking whether people would consider switching to a Chinese motorcycle for the next purchase said 84% insisted they would not be happy to make the change. So my question really to you is, why aren't we keen on buying Chinese motorcycles? Is it because we just don't like the idea of supporting China, and I get there are a lot of people in that camp, or is it some other reason? Is it because we just don't trust them? Now, the reason why I think that's an interesting question is because when you look at things like the Royal Enfields that we've all been buying by the hundreds and thousands in the last 5-6 years, you know, it wasn't that long ago when we wouldn't consider buying an Indian built bike, and yet now we're all buying Royal Enfields. So is it the same with CFMoto? Is it just a matter of time before the Chinese bikes start to get a little bit more traction in the market? Because there's no doubt the products they're producing are pretty flipping good. I mean, if MCN are doing group tests and it's beating, you know, manufacturers like KTM and Honda, then, you know, there's something to it. So ignore them at our peril. I understand there is a sort of an inbuilt dislike for buying Chinese goods, but I suspect that it's only a matter of time before that changes when we start to see, you know, what the reliability and so on is like long term. Would I buy one? Probably not, but I don't know. I've not ridden the CFMoto 450MT yet, although I have got it in the diary. I know it's a very popular bike, so I will be riding it soon, and I'll let you know what I think of that as soon as I do. All right, let me know in the comments below where you stand on Chinese motorbikes and whether you'd consider buying one or not, and what's stopping you from buying one. That's what I'm interested in. Right, next up, this is a clever thing, self-leveling shock. I love a bit of new tech, me, and I particularly like it if it's simple new tech, and this is one of those. So getting the tools out to adjust suspension can be a drag, but now German suspension firm Wilbers say they've come up with a solution. Rather than requiring preload adjustment to suit different loads, the firm's new Nevomat suspension is claimed to maintain perfect sag without the need for electronic actuators or a lean-sensitive IMU. This sounds great. The system uses a combination of two separate oil chambers, one low pressure, one high pressure, a single tube damping system and a pump rod with control sleeves including the valves. As load applied to the rear shock, such as a pillion mounting the bike or hard luggage, the pump rod, actuated by the natural movement of the motorcycle, automatically regulates pressure between the two chambers. Nice and simple solution, I like it. It says here, innovation naturally comes at a price. Costs vary by model, but Nevomat rear shocks start from £975. Typically they cost closer to the £1,500 mark, so quite an expensive replacement, but not electronic, so the chances are they might be a little bit more reliable. I like the sound of this. Nevomat from Wilbers. Basically, all the goodness of self-leveling suspension, but without the electronics. It says here, the system resembles self-leveling suspension first introduced on Citroen cars in 1954. There's nothing new in motorcycling, is there? But I like the sound of that. I wonder whether we'll start to see that appearing on mainstream manufacturers' motorcycles. I guess not, because Wilbers is not an OEM manufacturer, is it? But I like the idea of it, for sure. Do like a new bit of tech. Right, last story in this first paper, sibling rivalry. CFMoto again, the 800 NK's Advanced shares an engine and frame with KTM's 790 Duke. It's far cheaper and boasts a bigger spec, but is it better? So yeah, now actually though, the KTMs, the 790s, I believe, are made in the CFMoto factory, aren't they? So there's a lot of commonality between KTMs and CFMotos on certain models, and in this case, CFMoto have kind of taken the technology of KTM and built their own version of a bike that I think actually looks better than the KTM. I love the styling of the NK. I love the front light on it in particular, whereas I'm not a massive fan of the front end of KTMs. Anyway, let's see what the verdict was comparing the two. First off, without reading the text, in the star ratings, it's given the CFMoto 3 out of 5 and the KTM 4 out of 5. So there's our answer. They actually do prefer the KTM, but I wonder why. It says here, this is Carl Stevens, the KTM and CFMoto are two different sides of what is essentially the same coin. The question lies not only in how hardcore you want your naked to be, but also how much that big orange logo on the side of the tank means to you. The CFMoto gets so close to the KTM on every single one of its strongest aspects, and with the likes of adjustable suspension, cruise control and monstrous dash, all for a much lower price. Sure, there are some questions to be asked about dealer backup and resale values, but as a package, the CFMoto Advance is hard to fault at the price point. So it's interesting that they gave it, I mean, it's singing glowing praises there, yet they gave it a lower mark on the star rating, so that's interesting. Again, you know, would you rather have the CFMoto over the KTM? I've been getting lots of comments recently on my channel about KTMs and CFMotos having crankshafts made of cheese, all that sort of thing. I suspect those crankshafts are possibly made in the same factory even. Anyway, interesting again that the Chinese are making inroads, I think. Right, next paper. We won't just be talking about Chinese bikes, I promise you. First story here. Group riding under threat. Now this is a nuts story. I don't know if you saw this one over the last month. Council seeking ban on vehicle gathering sparks fears of a wider clampdown. This is just crazy. Bike meets and group rides in the West Midlands could be outlawed as the council looks to ban gatherings of 2 or more vehicles and forbid groups from riding in convoy. Have you ever heard anything so nuts in your life? The Public Spaces Protection Order drafted by Newcastle under Lyme Borough Council would prohibit any vehicles gathering on roads or public spaces unless official approval had been granted. Anyone in breach of the order would be liable for a fine or a fixed penalty notice of £100. Following the announcement, MCN spoke with Staffordshire Police, and the force said those that are taking part in charity ride-outs or similar would not fall under the remit of the order. I don't know, crazy this, isn't it? There's no upside to this. I think the idea of the council, they've had some problems, I think, with people meeting up in car parks with cars and doing donuts and stuff. So they've put this in place to try and you know, put an end to that sort of behaviour. But of course, the unintended consequence of that sort of legislation is if you're going to go for a ride out with 5 of your mates on a Sunday afternoon, this would stop you doing that in the West Midlands. Absolutely rubbish. Anyway, we shall see. Let's hope that you know, one council doing this doesn't mean loads of others are going to follow suit. Crazy story. Well, next up, Alan Millyard's got a column in MCN now. Just wanted to mention this. Alan's my old mate, Alan Millyard, I like to think. Great fella, amazing engineer, fascinating bloke, and I'm absolutely chuffed to see that he has now got a regular column in MCN. It's not every week, it's every month. He's rotating with some other new correspondence, I suppose is the correct word, isn't it? So well done, Alan. Great to see you in MCN. Looking forward to your next column. So yeah, buy yourself a copy of MCN to read what Alan's got to write. Always worth hearing. Right, next up, pleasure at a price. KTM's new 990 Duke is one of the best, another KTM, one of the best handling bikes we've tested, but does it justify its premium over other rivals? Now it's pitting the KTM against the Yamaha MT-09, which I absolutely love, and in fact was kind of my bike of the year this year. I absolutely love the MT-09. And the Triumph Street Triple 765R, not the RS. Again, I've been a long-term Street Triple owner. I absolutely love Triumphs generally, and the Street Triple is a fantastic bike. So, you know, if it beats out the KTM, basically it's up against some stiff competition. Let's see, I can't remember what the winner was here. Let's see what they say. Best ride, but not best buy. The 990 Duke is one of the best handling bikes I've ever ridden, says John Urry. The Duke is a bike you roll out on a sunny day, have an amazing ride on, then put away again. It isn't a day-to-day bike in anything like the way the Street Triple R or MT-09 are, and it certainly isn't anywhere near as good value. Yes, it has the best combination of chassis, engine and electronics for B-road fun, but for actually owning, the Triumph and Yamaha make much more sense. So there we go, they've answered the question. Don't get the KTM, get the Yamaha or the Street Triple, the Triumph. And yeah, I'd do the same. Not least because I just don't like the looks too much of the KTM 990, whereas I love the looks of the Street Triple, and even the MT-09 now in its latest guise isn't looking too bad, is it? Great bikes. If I had room in my garage for another bike, I think one of these triples would be in there. Great stuff. All right, final story in this paper. Astonishing, excellent headline, MCN guys. This is the Aston Martin bike that I think we've talked about before. Is the new 160k, you heard that right, £160,000 Aston Martin AMB 001 Pro, one of the finest motorcycles ever built, or simply a brand name vanity project. So this is it's branded Aston Martin, but it's built as a sort of a joint venture with Brough Superior. Of course, that classic British name from the past, but they are now, in fact, a French company. These are built in France under license, which for me, such classic names as Aston Martin and Brough Superior, the fact that these are French, nothing against the French at all, but something pains me in my heart. My heart is broken by that. Anyway, it says here, Brough Superior was bought in 2017 by Thierry Henriette and is based in Toulouse, where the Aston Martins are made, with each stage of the design process validated by Aston's HQ in Gaydon. So Aston Martin are involved in this, but let's face it, they're built in France. One of the things that absolutely fascinated me by this is the engine now in this bike is actually milled. So I mentioned it was 160 grand, which is a ridiculous price for a motorcycle, isn't it? But part of the reason is the engine's milled from a solid block of aluminium. Incredible. It says here, the level of quality necessary to manufacture engines used in Aston Martin vehicles has required Brough Superior to take a step forward in its development and investment. Last year, the Toulouse plant acquired a Haas 5-axis machining unit for its engine production line. I wonder how long it takes to mill out one of these, but that gives you some idea as to why it's such an expensive bike to buy. The verdict here from David Dumas is, even if many buyers simply display it as a piece of mechanical artwork, the fact remains that the AMB 001 Pro is a racing machine, one that goes, handles and sets impressive lap times just so long as you can get its stratospheric price tag out of your head. So yeah, I don't think this is a bike we're going to be seeing too many of on the road, but I'm glad it exists. I'm just a little bit disappointed it's made in France. There we go. Right, 4 more stories out of this paper. First up, big changes for Motorcycle Live. Now, Motorcycle Live is the big motorbike annual show here in the UK. It's usually in November, held at the NEC in Birmingham. I used to go on a regular basis, but I kind of stopped going because it was always a bit samey as far as I was concerned. That plus it's held in the dismal time of November. It's a bit of a drag to get to Birmingham. I was always a bit miffed about the parking arrangements there and the way that they charge you for parking extra. Nothing to do with the NEC show, I know, or rather Motorcycle Live. It's the NEC apparently that charges you that. But anyway, I kind of got turned off Motorcycle Live and I haven't been for a few years now. But they're making big changes apparently. So let me read what it says here. Show bosses hope new festival style features will bring excitement boost. Well, let's hope that works. The annual Motorcycle Live show at Birmingham's NEC is having a radical overhaul for 2024, with our organisers promising a new festival style theme as well as more live action and music. I'm not sure an indoor venue needs music like this. I think it's just going to be very flipping noisy by the sounds of it. But anyway, I wonder whether the success of things like the ABR Festival and making Motorcycle Live think, oh, we could do with a bit of that action. We've got a bit of a, let's not be too harsh, but okay, I'm being harsh, a dying festival. Yeah, ABR is growing each year. Let's have a bit of that action. I'm wondering if that's where they're coming from. It says here, alongside new features such as freestyle motocross and trials riding, plus stunt shows from the world record holding professionals still to be announced. Managing Director Finlay McCallan told MCN, people were not coming regularly, and by that I mean they were every second or third year, and the feedback from that was that they weren't coming every year because the show was similar, which is exactly what I was just saying. We looked at festivals that were working and elements that were working and that really interests and lit people's imaginations and interest. Again, I suspect they've been looking at ABR. A number of new presenters will also be used across multiple sections, with the traditional Black Horse stage being treated to a new look before welcoming big name stars across multiple motorcycling disciplines. Now, this is one of the things that, again, always irks me a bit about Motorcycle Live, is that when you went to the Black Horse stage there, they were always the same old presenters doing stuff. Now, I've got nothing wrong with those individual presenters that they use, but year after year, it was the same people, and they're all people that were, well, not all, but mostly ex-motorcycle racers. I'm not interested in motorcycle racing, and these are all guys from like the 80s and 90s and thousands who, you know, I wasn't even interested in motorcycles then, so they don't really mean anything to me. So they weren't of interest to me anyway. I don't know why they don't use people like, you know, use the guys from 44 Teeth to present the Black Horse stage. I'm sure people would love to see them, and they would be fantastic. Use my mate Chopsy, Lamb Chops, presenting some of the stuff on the Black Horse stage. That would be fantastic. It would be new, it would be fresh, it would be moving away from all this old school stuff that's been so staid. So when I read that they were going to announce some new presenters, I was really looking forward to hearing who they've announced. Well, they have announced a few. I think there are a few more to go yet, and I have to say, I'm not enthused by the people that they've announced, one of which is one of the old school ones anyway. I mention no names here because it would be unfair, because there's, as I say, I've got nothing against those people individually. I just think they need to revamp this and embrace things like social media. Anyway, there we go. I'm not just saying that because I'm a social media person, and I'm not saying I want to present the thing, although if they want to offer me a shed load of money to do it, I'll consider it. You know, I think that's where they're missing a trick. Bring in some social media people. There are some big names out there now on social media that I think would do a great job of presenting this stuff. And again, that would help just bring a bit of a fresher feel to the show. Anyway, good luck to them. Let's hope it works out this year. Haven't decided yet whether I'm going to go or not. Probably not. But we'll see. I'll look forward to feedback of people who have been as to whether it's improved the show this year. Okay, next up, sporty new RS tees. This was in a paper from about 4 weeks ago. This is the new Triumph Speed Twin RS that was being teased. It has, of course, been released since. I know there's some more in a later paper, so we'll save that for them. Next story in this one, shifting perceptions. Yamaha are the latest manufacturer to offer a form of automated gear shifting and clutch control, but can it be better than the conventional arrangement? So this is, again, yet another manufacturer giving us an automatic gearbox. I forget what Yamaha call it. Oh, the Y-AMT, automatic manual transmission. So they basically put an automatic, well, they haven't put an automatic box, they've used servo motors to enable automatic gear shifting on some of their bikes, and they've launched it on the MT-09. There was an event recently where people, again, like my mate Chopsy, went along to and had a go on the bike, and he absolutely loved it. Personally, I'm not sure who's asking for these bikes with automatic gearboxes. I'm not sure that I am, and I'm not sure that on a bike like the MT-09, which is just a fantastic fun bike, why that would add to the fun. I was actually going to borrow one of these quite soon, but unfortunately there was a problem at Yamaha, and that's now been moved, so I'll have to do it at a later date. But anyway, I just wonder what your thoughts were on these automatic gearboxes. This one is slightly different to one on the Honda that I use, and also different to the DCT that Honda use, in that they've removed the gear shift lever from your foot. And there's no clutch lever on this. It's fully automatic, or you can use buttons on the handlebar to change gear if you want to ride it more manually. Now, I'm sceptical about this, as was Lamb Chops in his review, but actually at the end of it, he said it actually was great fun and it made for a very engaging ride. So I do look forward to having a go on one. What's your thoughts? Do we need more automatic motorcycles, or is this just to get us? I've heard some conspiracy theories about this is just manufacturers trying to get us used to the idea so that when we all move to electric bikes, we don't miss the gear shift. I'm not sure that's really the case. I don't really buy into conspiracy theories. But anyway, I mean, is this just technology for technology's sake? I don't know. I'm certainly not asking for automatic gearboxes on bikes. They make sense in some cases, like my big Honda Goldwing, which is a big relaxed touring bike, automatic gearbox on that in the form of DCT, absolutely brilliant. Not sure on a sporty, fun, engaging bike like this, it does make so much sense. Well, actually, there's a verdict here. I should read what MCN says, shouldn't I? So this is Cole Stevens. He says, it's an impressive bit of kit that serves a purpose, offering both a reasonable ride in automatic and a sporty punch in manual mode. What it lacks in speed, it more than makes up for in smooth control at low speeds. The MT-09 is a sublime machine, and Y-AMT doesn't detract from that experience, offering an easy, stress-free experience. So when he doesn't exactly say it makes it better, but he says it doesn't detract from the experience. So maybe not a glowing endorsement. All right, last story here. It's cheap, but is it cheerful? Kove's 800X looks like to be the real deal for a price that undercuts its closest rivals. So can it cuss the mustard? This is yet another Chinese motorcycle. The Kove 800X pitted against the KTM 790 Adventure and the Yamaha Tenere. Verdict on this one, this again is from Carl Stevens. Scoring these bikes is incredibly difficult, as it depends solely on how much wriggle room you have in your wallet, and all three offer an experience that reflects very well on their respective prices. Not only is the Kove 800 hot value, but it's also an impressive effort. Yet still, the Yamaha and KTM are the class acts if you stretch your pound notes that far. The Yamaha is a bit more premium as a package, and the KTM has that little bit more to offer, both in terms of its tech and indeed the riding experience, even though it is the most expensive. It's given all the bikes 4 out of 5, so if, you know, 8,499 is the max your budget will stretch for, might be worth considering the Kove. It looks a nice little bike. It's in black with gold wheels, so I'm immediately going to like it. But it does, MCN at least have rated the Yamaha and the KTM above it, but then they're over 10.5 grand each. So quite a lot more money, another 2 grand more each. So there we go, another Chinese bike, making inroads into the market potentially. First story, Need for Speed. Now this is that Triumph Speed Twin RS, and in fact, the Speed Twin 1200 has been revamped slightly as well. Now, this is an important story to me because I'm a big Speed Twin fan. I own the first generation Speed Twin, which I absolutely love. It's an amazing retro bike, lovely lazy power, really like it. But they've done some updates. My question to you is, are these updates or are they downgrades? Let's read what it says here, and then I'll tell you what I think about this. Triumph launched sporty new Speed Twin 1200 RS alongside fully revitalised standard model is the headline. Triumph reveals an updated Speed Twin 1200 Retro Roadster plus a new sportier RS model with optional clip-on bars to transform it into a classy cafe racer, which I assume they've done to fill the gap because the Thruxton is no more. Designed to fit into the retro sporting space, here we go, left by the Thruxton 1200, which will leave Triumph's range at the end of 2024. The new 14,495 RS models share the same chassis and motor as the standard Speed Twin, but it has beefed up with more advanced suspension, a quick shifter and more. Now, quick shifter, I do like that idea on a Speed Twin. Power has been upped from 98 brake horsepower to 103. Not sure you're going to notice that. It says here, the new Speed Twin 1200 RS is more focused, more engaging, and with even sharper responses, said Chief Product Officer Steve Sargent. It's designed for riders who want the best in dynamic performance with classy, sporty looks. The end cans sit close to the twin rear shocks, which in the case of the RS comes in the form of fully adjustable twin Öhlins units, raising the standard 805mm seat height by 5mm. They're paired with 43mm fully adjustable upside down Marzocchi forks, Brembo M 4.30 Stylemma radial calipers, and newly designed 17-inch rims. The riding position has been adjusted for more focus. I don't like the sound of this. The foot pegs are slightly raised and sit further back too, which has allowed for the inclusion of an up and down quick shifter. A first for Triumph models using this engine platform. It won't be available on the standard bike. That's because they've had to move the foot pegs. It's got a 6-axis IMU now for lean sensitive electronic rider aids, and it has an LCD part TFT display, which is another thing which I don't like about this new bike. So the things that really appeal to me about the Speed Twin are its lazy power and its retro looks and its comfort. Those are the main things that made me buy one. What they've done now, it seems to me, is they've removed some of the comfort because they've made the foot pegs higher. When they say things like a more sporty ride, dynamic performance, more focused ride, that means to me they've made you more over the front of the bike. Now, of course, it's not a full-on sports bike, so it's not going to be like riding a proper sports bike, but nonetheless, to me, it sounds like they've made it less comfortable. And the thing that really irks me, and I know it irks lots of others as well, because I've seen all the comments on Instagram, is this new clock. One of the beauties of the Speed Twin were the twin dials that it had from the T120. In the case of mine, I've actually replaced the inlays, and they've got like retro-looking dials on mine. It looks beautiful. Whilst I actually like the new clock when they have it on some of the more modern bikes, I think this comes from the Trident bikes like that, I just don't think LCD clocks have any place on a retro bike. Bring back proper dials with sweepy hands, please, Triumph. This, to me, is a step back. Yes, I love the idea of Öhlins rear shock. The shocks on the Speed Twin can get out of shape if you start to push the bike on, but I'm not keen on the new clock. I'm not keen on the styling and the fact that they've made it less comfortable. Of course, that's just based on what I've read about the bike. I've not actually ridden it yet. I have put a word in with Triumph. I do want to have a go on it, and I've asked them if I can be one of the first YouTubers to get my hands on it, and they've put me almost at the top of the list. I think just Bennett's have beaten me to it. But anyway, I'm looking forward to riding it. I won't draw any conclusions until I've had a go, because having a quick shifter on it, slightly more power, and maybe that new focused riding position will float me boat. We'll find out. But there will be a Speed Twin review coming as soon as they are on the press fleet. I cannot wait to ride the new bike. I might even do a direct comparison between it and my old Gen 1 Speed Twin and see where the changes are. So looking forward to riding that. That's probably the bike I'm most looking forward to riding so far that's been released in this next batch of 2025 model year bikes. Okay, next up, Hello Moto, Bolton Bike Builders CCM revealed tasty street moto duo starting at under 10k. I'm a big fan of British motorcycles, and I love to see British manufacturers making bikes, and CCM do exactly that up in Bolton. They do use an engine which is out of a sort of an off-roady bike, and that's the one thing that puts me off these bikes. I love the looks of them, I love the pricing, I love the lightness of them, but a big single thumper kind of puts me off. I don't know why. I have ridden a CCM before. I actually rode Henry Cole's CCM Spitfire many years ago. If you've not seen that video, I'll try and rake it out and put a link in the corner. And whilst that bike looked absolutely amazing, God, it was a right faff to start. It was a bit of a pain to ride, and although I liked it overall because it was kind of interesting, I don't think you'd want to live with it. And in fact, Henry Cole sold that a few months after I rode it. So I don't know if these would be any different to that. They look great. I wish them best of luck, but I don't think they're going to be for me. Let's read what it says here. CCM have unveiled a pair of super lightweight 600cc street trackers. I love the idea they're super light. Judging by the spec, should be a hoot to ride. The new Street Moto range comprises the 9,995 base model and the more premium 11,495 Street Moto R. The engine's is the same 6-speed ex-Husqvarna unit powering their existing 6-bike range. That's the engine I'm not keen on. It produces 55 brake horsepower with a lithe wet weight quoted at 141 kilograms or 139 kilograms for the R model. Marzocchi forks, both bikes have 17-inch wheels. The R has lightweight Dimag alloy race wheels, and the seat height is 830 mils. So they're quite tall bikes. They look great, you know, maybe I'm wrong about the engine. I'll be interested to hear if you've ridden a CCM. What do you make of that engine? What would you rather see in it if you agree with me that it's just a bit too lumpy for that bike? What other engine would be better than that? I don't know what I'd like to see in it. Obviously, the lightweight is the thing with this, so that's probably why they've gone with that particular single. But I don't know. I just think a twin or even a triple, I know it's going to make it more weighty, would just make it a much more desirable bike for me, at least. I'll be interested in your views on that. Right, first electric bike of this bike news. People again always complain when I talk about electric bikes, but this one is from Royal Enfield. New Flying Flea looks set to be the first EV from Royal Enfield. Royal Enfield CEO has confirmed that the company's first production electric bike will launch in the next financial year. It will be a lightweight, retro-inspired city bike reviving the Flying Flea name. Now, the Flying Flea, of course, was a bike that they made, Royal Enfield, when it was a British manufacturer in the Second World War. I think it used to fold up to a degree. Anyway, it would be parachuted out of gliders with paratroopers so that when they landed, they had some transport. What a brilliant idea. It says here, so the boss of Royal Enfield, B. Govindarajan, sorry, I've got your name wrong, I'm sure I have, said the bike will be a gorgeous looking, very differentiated electric vehicle. Suggested the bike will have a fixed battery rather than a removable, swappable pack, relying on fast charging to conveniently replenish range. All very well, but not good if you're leaving a flat and you can't leave your bike outside to charge. The first production model will be a very different machine with a style and market position that's closer to that of the Maving city-oriented retro-styled electric machines, the RM1 and RM1S. Do you remember the Maving? I rode that a little while ago. Again, I'll put a link in the corner. Very cool bike that. I really enjoyed that when I rode it. This is going to be more of a competitor for that. And by the picture here, it does look quite cool, actually. I suspect it would make some sense in an urban environment, but all depends on cost and so on. The interesting thing about this is it's got girder front forks. You don't see that very much in modern bikes, do you? So well done, Royal Enfield, for trying something different. It says here, MCN approached the brand about the potential plans, but they declined to comment. So it's obviously a little way off yet, but it's in the works by the sounds of it. Right, next up, big bike sales down. This is a shame, but data shows strong demand for low-capacity motorcycles. It says here, bike sales dipped last month. Steady but positive overall trend of bike sales shown earlier in the year appears to have stalled, with total registrations now down nearly 6% compared to 2023. Machines of 1,000cc or more have continued to maintain poor figures throughout the year, and they're down by 23% compared to the same time last year. But small machines, 125 to 500, are up 19%. And that's mainly driven by the likes of the Honda 400, the Triumph 400s that are out now. They are absolutely flying off the shelves and are the best sellers in that category and have been for some months now. Honda remain the overall top spot with 1,578 registrations. Yamaha and Triumph made up second and third respectively. Triumph's strong performance can be largely attributed to sales of its hugely popular Speed 400 model, only being dethroned by its Scrambler 400X sibling in March. Now, I've ridden the 400 and I loved it. Videos on my channel about that. I've taken delivery today. I'm recording this on Tuesday. Hopefully you're watching this on Wednesday. But I've taken delivery today of the Scrambler 400X. I cannot wait to ride it. It's chucking it down with rain out there as I'm recording this. But tomorrow, Wednesday, hopefully the weather's going to be a bit better and hopefully I'll get out on the Scrambler 400X. So I'll be bringing you a review of that soon. Anyway, there we go. So bike sales down in the big bike class, but smaller bikes doing very well. Interesting that, isn't it? Is that a reflection that we're all getting older and want lighter bikes? Or is it just the cost of bikes that's driving that? Or is it both? Possibly both. Talking of costs and expensive bikes, check out the looks of this Panigale. It's amazing. This is the new Panigale V4S, and I saw one in the flesh a few weeks ago, and it is a marvel of engineering to look at. It's not particularly relevant to me. I'm not particularly a sports bike rider. I used to have a Panigale 899, which I love the looks of, and they've gone all kind of futuristic now, and I think they don't look quite as nice as they did originally. But this picture here, I just have to pay credit to the photographer, because I just think that is a great picture of Neavesy on the bike. It looks beautiful, doesn't it? The verdict here, just for what it's worth as I'm talking about it, it is a 30 grand bike, by the way, so don't think you'd be seeing too many on the road. It says here, the Panigale V4S has evolved into an ultra-polished track weapon, and that's the key, isn't it? If you're into track riding, then yeah, this is your bike maybe, but perhaps not on the road. Neavesy says it flatters like never before, which will be manna from heaven for track addicts. It'll be friendly on the road too, but you'll only be able to use it at a fraction of its superpowers at normal speeds. If you want to go very fast with an army of perfectly judged electronic riders' aids, it won't disappoint. So beautiful if you're a track fan. So, but again, if you spent 30 grand on a bike, would you want to take it on a track? Not sure. So I'm not entirely sure how many of these are going to sell. I don't think you're going to see that many on the road just because of the cost. But yeah, what a beautiful thing. All right, before we get to parish notices, one more paper, a few more stories to go through. Hope you're sticking with me. Tech-Field Touring Ducati unveil an updated version of their Multistrada V4. I'm a fan of adventure bikes, and I've always been a fan of the Multistrada, but to me, it always felt a bit heavy and a little bit too tall for me, but I love the looks of it. Things are changing though. It says here, Ducati have lifted the lid on their adventure bike offerings for 2025, unveiled an updated V4S available next month, actually quite soon. Heart of the changes is a clever new electronics package borrowed from the Panigale V4, so it doesn't get more high-tech than that. It also receives styling changes to the front end, minor ergonomics alterations, subtle chassis tweak to raise the swing arm pivot, increasing the bike's anti-squat properties, which is a good move. It says here, while the previous generation Moto was hardly basic in terms of tech, the new machine gets even more safety-focused electronics, including a new forward collision warning. 70 virtual sensors collaborate to estimate specific loads on the bike, feeding data to a new Ducati Vehicle Observer function. This supports slicker operation of the traction control, cornering ABS and anti-wheeling systems. Where the previous generation had 4 riding modes, it's now got 5. And now this is the bit that interests me as a short rider. The Multistrada V4 now automatically lowers itself at speeds of 6 miles an hour or below, giving riders a helping hand when the time comes to plant their feet. The feature works by fully dialing back preload from both ends of the electronic suspension. Once speed increases above 31, normal ride height is gained. So that's more like things like the Harley-Davidson Pan America and the optional suspension on the BMW GS does. So for me now, with that new lowering function, suddenly the Multistrada, perhaps to me, becomes more favourable than the GS, because as much as I like the GS to ride, I just can't get past the looks, and the way some of the electronics works is just too difficult and complicated to get to quickly. The Multistrada may now score on that. So I think next year I might have a little word with Ducati, see if I can have another ride on a Multistrada. It's been a while since I rode one. Now it's got this lowering function. Does this mean shorties and weaklings like me can actually get by riding one? So yeah, let me know if you're interested in me riding one of those. I'll see if I can get hold of one next year. Okay, right, scooting into 2025. Honda overhaul funky X-ADV with fresh tech and comfort. Do you remember this, the X-ADV? I rode one of these years ago, it seems. It must be 4 or 5 years ago since I rode the Honda X-ADV. It's kind of a motorcycle dressed in scooter's clothing. The good thing about it is it's got loads of storage under the seat. It's easy to ride. It's got a DCT gearbox. This is what, you know, a bike designed for the urban environment, but has a bigger engine, so it actually goes pretty well as well, rides more like a motorcycle. What it says here is Honda have a host of updates for their long-standing X-ADV, making it even more comfy, convenient and capable. Funky 745cc adventure scooters developed a huge fan base on the continent, with Honda selling 76,000 units throughout the bike's 7-year existence. So 7 years it's been around. It's got cruise control as standard now, 4-way backlit switchgear, adjustable windscreen, which can be done without use of tools. Seat's been reshaped, seat pan opening function has been tweaked. It's got a 22-litre storage underneath the seat, USB charger, glove box up front for added storage space. Very convenient machine this. DCT gearbox now offers smoother low-speed response. 4 riding modes to choose from. And there's also a bodywork refresh. So you don't see many more on the road here. We don't really do scooters in the UK very much, do we? But I think it's worth another look. So again, as soon as these become available, I'm going to have a word with Honda and see if I can have another go on the X-ADV. It's just an intriguing motorcycle, and I'm glad that manufacturers like Honda do continue to innovate and bring us things like this. And I'm sure it will sell well in Mediterranean countries once again, as the existing bike do. Right, talking to tech, radar revolution. Bosch partnered with KTM on 6-stage radar safety system that can stop a bike in traffic before pulling away again on its own. Is this another example of technology that perhaps is technology for technology's sake? I don't know. What do you think? It says here, Bosch ready to launch a new range of radar-guided assistance systems, have the capability to bring the vehicle to a stop and pull away. It also can monitor other road users when they're getting too close. The system is the second generation of Bosch's radar-guided advanced rider assistance system and will debut aboard an incoming KTM Super Adventure model using the firm's automatic manual transmission semi-auto gearbox. It can slow the bike down to a complete stop to match the car in front, should it be required, before pulling away with the traffic at the touch of a button. This is made possible by an incoming clutchless semi-automatic gearbox on the KTM, apparently. So there we go, yet more tech of this type. Do we need this? I do like blind spot monitoring, I must admit, and I do like radar-guided cruise control. But do we want the bike to stop itself? Lots of people say they don't. I mean, in the case of an emergency, if this could save your life, maybe we do. I don't know. Interesting one. Or is this just me being a Luddite? And in fact, over time, all bikes will have this and we'll end up thinking, what were we doing without it? What I do know is that I've owned cars in the past that have brake assist, and it's been a bit of a shocker on occasions, although it did save my neck once or twice. So, you know, perhaps I should stop being a dinosaur and embrace this sort of thing. Right, last story. Apex predators, biking's most extreme tour rounders, corner carvers go head-to-head for a fast road bragging rights. So this is the Multistrada V4 S Pike Pikes, which looks absolutely amazing, versus the BMW M1000 XR. Both beautiful bikes, both basically sports bikes that have been uplifted. Verdict here are these. Lovely bike. I've not ridden either of these actually, so I'm just reading this out to see what it says. Expensive but worth it, says Nevesy. Both are at the top of their game when it comes to delivering searing performance, genuine touring comfort and practicality. The Ducati isn't as sharp on the bends or as brutal on the throttle, but it's never far off. It's softer, plusher, more costing and luxurious, which makes it the better bet for touring, and you can load it up with the top box and panniers. With its designer chassis label and attention to detail, it's worth the money. If you've got deep pockets and as the consummate all-rounder, it takes the test win. So the Ducati beats the BMW in this case, gives the Ducati 5 stars, the BMW 4. And just a word on the cost, the Ducati comes in at £26,595 and the BMW 22,580. I wouldn't say no to either bike, I don't think. Right, that means it's time for... Parish notices, of course, a little bit of a look forward at what's coming up in the next month on the Missenden Flyer. So just to let you know what's coming up. Next video you'll see this Saturday, the 5th of October, bit of a special one. It's the Harley Davidson Freewheeler, which is a 3-wheeled motorcycle, as in 1 wheel at the front, 2 wheels at the back. I've never ridden a bike in that sort of configuration before. My goodness me, what a machine is all I'll say. That's a video worth seeing. Spoiler alert, I didn't like it. Anyway, that's coming up on Saturday. After that, a bit late to the party, on the 9th of October, I'll be bringing out my review of the Royal Enfield Shotgun, a bike that many of you have asked me to ride. I did ride this a little while ago actually, but it's only now am I publishing the video. Sorry it's been a wait, but that's coming up on the 9th. On Saturday the 12th, put this note in your diary, I've got the first episode of a brand new tour series. I've been away for the last month with Mrs. Fly, touring Europe on the Honda Goldwing, and we've come up with a series of tour videos that we're going to put out for the next few Saturdays to help you through the early wintry months. We're calling it the Winging It Tour because we literally wing it on the Honda Goldwing. It's an unplanned tour, just me and Mrs. Fly working out day by day where we're going to go. The tour ended up being something quite different to what we had originally planned. We were basically just looking for good weather, and if you remember, in the last few weeks in Europe, the weather's been pretty pants. So anyway, the weather, we just follow the sun. First episode of that's coming up on Saturday. I really hope you like that tour series. They never get as many views as bike reviews, but I like doing them, and I've put a lot of effort into this one, and I think it's going to be a cracking series. I haven't finished editing it yet, so I can't say definitively, but I have done the first couple of episodes, and I hope you'll like them. Then after that, I've got my first, on the 16th of October, I shall actually be in hospital having surgery on my shoulder. No sympathy required. I don't know if I've mentioned that before, that I've got a dodgy shoulder. Anyway, I'm having an operation on the 16th of October. That won't stop me publishing my review of the MV Agusta Enduro Veloce, which again, I had a couple of months ago. I had this in the can because I knew I was going to be having the surgery. That's coming up 16th of October. Then we've got basically more of the tour videos coming up each Saturday. I've got a review of the Insta360 X4 camera that I've used on tour, that's coming up as well, and some other stuff too. And the next bike news like this one will be coming out, I hope, on the 30th of October, which I think is Halloween, isn't it? So I'll have my lights turned off and everything on that day, as we do, because we kind of like that round here, a bit miserable when it comes to Halloween. All right, so that's it. So yeah, that's it for bike news. Hope you enjoyed that. Thanks for watching as ever. Thank you to my sponsors for continuing to sponsor the channel. Look forward to reading your comments below. And yeah, look forward to speaking to you next time. Until then, this has been the Missenden Flyer. Cheerio.